Alright, everyone, welcome to Game 2 of the EU Tournament Series number 5. We are going to be watching eLEMON Gaming up against Denial EU. Denial got knocked out of Game 1. This is now 1-up for eLEMON. This is the second round. If Denial loses this, eLEMON takes it all. If Denial wins this, they have to go to Game 3 to try and contest to win it all themselves. They were last week's winner. Can they pull it off, or will they lose here at the stage? I'm joined today by my co-caster, DM Brandon. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing excellent. I just saw my favorite character use my personal build and absolutely shred people, so you always feel good when that kind of stuff happens. But he is banned out for this game. Denial going back into this game, recognizing the threat and removing it accordingly. So opting not here to ban Ymir, going for Hell, and Ymir doesn't even get picked up. This is the second time he's not within 5 picks. Very, very strange.
Certainly very strange. Odin's actually going to be the first pickup here, even with Ymir on the table. Ymir gets picked up there again. I thought we were going to have a repeat of 2 games ago where Ymir kind of just slunked on by. So Thor and Ymir are going to be picked up there again. Thor kind of in that transitionary state where he still gets played as kind of like a support role. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be the carry there for eLEMON. So we'll see how that works out for them. Now we see Denial over here going to have the next 2 picks. Naja is off the table. Hell is off the table. Sprayer is probably shedding a tear for that. Box is off the table as well. Poseidon going to be picked up right away. Restarian has his next pick, and he has 10 seconds to make it. Let's see what he decides to go for here.
A great pick of Fenrir, taking it out of the hands of Proxy QQ is going to ensure that their jungle strategy will be just a little bit weaker. I will pay somebody for them to pick Arachne right now. Who has PayPal? Link your PayPals. I'll pay all of you.
Give me
Arachne.
Or Zeus. Smack Turks and Sun Touch now the next pick. 20 seconds left. Let's see what they decide to go for. Will there be any crazy strategies? Will they have a backup plan? Will they have, their next strategy to lay out and keep Denial guessing that first round? They kind of really didn't know what to do about, solo Guan Yu, Proxy QQ playing a tank, and then Cobra Kai in the jungle with the Naja. Not really much they could do to try and react to it. They have 3 physical carries on the board right now for eLEMON. Hercules and On Her going to be the next pickups there. On Her not going to be able to go over to Denial. Cubo Fred, again, shedding another tier for that. So see what they decide to pick up here in response. They need another tank and another actually they need 2 tanks if Odin's not going to be damaged. We've seen Game Hunter play Odin as a carry several times in a row, so we'll see if that is going to be their plan here or not. Might be something different. Guan's going to be picked up right away for Trick's tank. Cubo Fred still has the opportunity to pick up his god. 10 seconds left. What does he decide to go for? It's going to be Hades, so it looks like Odin's going to be played as a damage dealer as previously mentioned by Game Hunter, and that is going to be the lineup if they decide to lock this in. And they do so.
So only 1 major tank there. You see Ymir. Hercules can be built in more of a bruiser role, even going more tanky, but doesn't really bring to the CC and support to the table that the other tanks will. Speaking of like Hades, Guan Yu, or even Odin. Opting instead for more damage. They are hovering right now and locking into Hebo very, very simply. Will we see Lionheart's old jungle Hebo ways? It looks like Thor is going to be given to Proxy QQ, who is their normal jungler. Hebo is going to be going mid onto Sun Touch, and Cobra Kai, it looks like he's going to be picking up Hercules. So we're going to get it on here Ymir lane. We're going to get a Thor Hercules lane, which is very, very powerful, and of course the ever dangerous Hebo.
Hebo in the middle lane, and this is something we saw at the very beginning of the tournament, the fact that regardless of how Hebo was played and how many deaths he gives up in the beginning, if he gets his core items up, he's always going to be doing lots and lots of scary damage. He has the burst damage, he has a scaling potential with his passive. You can get any kind of potions, damage buff, fire giant buff, stack up on top of that, and it just compounds in on itself, and he can do a large chunk of your HP in the blink of an eye, and it's something it's really exciting to watch Hebo played, and Hebo played effectively as well, and Suntouch has proved himself to be the master of the water god Poseidon, so we'll see if he can extend that over to Hebo in the middle lane.
All right, so we got about a little over 2 minutes before this game starts. There is a delay once again because we want to ensure that both teams are on equal footing and no one has a chance to look at each other's screens or anything of that nature. So we do keep a delay on here. So I'm pretty interested to see in, I guess, how this is all going to go down. They're running the Odin Hades lane, which I love. So if they do decide maybe they're going to try a jungle Thor, Hercules will have no chance to get away from an Odin Hades. I mean, if Odin decides to lock him in and then burns him down a little bit, if he manages to get away after that, Hades can just dash after him and lock him in the ult, or they could do it the other way around. Hades forces the ult, which will ensure Hercules uses driving strike to get out, and then Odin jumps in, locks him in. There's nowhere for him to go. So there's definitely a lot of potential there in that lane. Cubo Fred picking up Fenrir. We actually might see a jungle role from him. Lane Fenrir is wonderful, but I think Fenrir right now is just perfect in the jungle, and that's the best way to play him. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that these teams can do to really, I guess, maybe mess with each other's synergy.
It certainly will. So we're going to have Poseidon up in the middle lane up against a Hebo. Now, something that can be very back and forth, and it comes down to the playstyle of the Hebo. Does the Hebo press his aggression in the early stages and force Poseidon back into a corner, or does he kind of just wait back and look for the push? It's going to come down to the itemization and how aggressive the Hebo can be. If Hebo gets an opportunity, he will kill Poseidon, but Poseidon will have to wait most likely until level 5 without that Kraken, and most likely will have any kill potential. But once that Kraken is available, both Hebo and Poseidon are kind of like loose cannons in the middle lane. Once they get enough experience to get those stats up into their abilities to do lots of burst damage and good control as well. We're gonna have Emir, Hebo on her Thor, and Hercules. It looks like Hercules is gonna be played as a support tank, and Proxy QQ is returning to his damage role as expected. The question is he gonna try to go for anything cheeky, or we're gonna have a very standard setup here from eLEMON?
So still about 30 seconds before we get in here. Let's talk a little bit about the ritual. What are they going to do? You think they're going to spare the Minotaur this time, go for the sacrifice in the Phoenix? We saw them do that last week against Root, and it paid off.
We shall see. It's something that comes down to what lane are they going to do it in. They always do the middle lane Phoenix. It works out for them in general, but sometimes it backfires. I mean, they did the black magic, white magic, and then back to black magic. The results are kind of inconclusive.
So just finally getting in here after what could have been the longest 2 minutes of my life. Thanks for that, Dry Bear. Don't just say you're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Okay. So getting in here, again, on the left side of your screen, you're going to see Denial Esports EU. On the right side of your screen, you're going to see eLEMON. As they start loading in here, we're going to wait for a few more people before we can get things started. You see the timer on top is actually clicking forward instead of backward. It'll start ticking down once everyone's loaded in. Now you see the 90-second mark coming in, and we're going to be getting started here as the items start getting built.
Gonna head on out, see if Denial decides to do their general team huddle as expected. No Game Hunter says, nah, I'm done. Done with this match. Nope, I'm good. I'm gonna come back. Head back over to do the black magic here. So let's go and cover the players and who's playing what for what team. On the top of the map, you have eLEMON Gaming heading out into the lanes already. We're going to have Honor played by Smacktrix going into left-hand lane. Looks like going to be laning with Fat Master played by, playing Emir. Now in the middle lane, we're going to have Suntouch playing Hebo this time around. In the right-hand lane, we will see Proxy QQ playing Thor. And with his lane mate, Cobra Kai up on Hercules. Actually, Honor's going to left lane. With the Thor's kind of wandering around, is going to be exactly that. So it's going to be on her and the Hercules over here in the left-hand lane. Now on the opposite side of the map, the bottom side, the blue team, Denial EU, the losers of the first round, heading into here, hoping to take this back from eLEMON and push this to a game 3 is going to be Denial EU. Fender is going to be played by Qvo. Fred over in the left-hand lane with his lane mate Trix Tank up on Guan Yu. Now in the middle lane, you will see Sprayarn playing Poseidon up against the enemy Hebo. And the right lane, we will see Resterian on that Hades, with his lane mate Game Hunter up on Odin.
So we do indeed see two junglers in this game. This will be the first time we see this today. Fenrir jungling for Denial, and we do have a jungle Thor. I haven't seen this yet. I don't know how capable this can be. I know Berserker Barrage does a lot of damage, but in terms of soloing, Thor does kind of fall off a little bit. On her moving up towards the enemy, blue buff on the right side of your map does not gain enough vision to know what Game Hunter has built, but on the other hand, the Birds of Wisdom have granted the intelligence for Game Hunter to know exactly what On Her has built, which of course is Death's Toll, Boots, and 1 potion. I mean, I'm sure he could have figured that out either way, so not much information was gained. Left side of your screen, you see the Thor Hercules really trying to burn things down. You see the speed buff already out, the driving strike going down there as Proxy QQ pops his Berserker Barrage and starts trying to burn this cooldown buff as fast as possible. This might put him at level 2. We're going to find out together. Yes, it does. So a lot of experience gained from that Bombas match. Fenrir now going to his third camp of the game, already level 2, has a good chance to really take a pretty strong turn for the team. You see Spurn actually rotating over to put the Whirlpool down to ensure that he can burn this down even faster. I love the teamwork, and I love the synergy to really help these junglers get going. It really is familiar of other MOBAs, how the other lanes are focusing everything down together, and I think it's brilliant.
It certainly is. You see Hercules kind of going over here in the left-hand lane, and now you see a 1v1 lane over here on the left side, and you see two roamers kind of making their way at the exact same time, actually simultaneously hitting the right-hand side medium camps. Gonna clear that out and probably go for a gank immediately after onto the right lane. The damage buff, however, is not taken out for Thor, so it looks like Fenrir's a little bit ahead of Thor. If you look at individual gold numbers, 1900 gold for Fenrir, and Thor is sitting about 1900 as well. Thor is actually ahead of Fenrir in this current situation, so it looks like he had a little bit more help. Beside the middle lane, looks like he's going to be pushing up against the Hebo. Thor might be able to, he's starting the damage buff now, now at level 3. Let's see if they try to go for a gank. Fenrir now reaching the right lane just about now. He's going to head over towards the middle and maybe try to check out to see if Thor is around or jungling. Hebo's going to head over to the damage buff. Most likely Poseidon did see him do so. We'll be able to counter that. And there is the Mjolnir's Attunement, not able to get himself out. Looks like he's just going to back up and probably go home. There's no camps for him to clear. He has no mana. He's just going to go ahead and head home and pick up some items. Fenrir's going to wander over to enemy jungle and find nothing.
I like that Fenrir is opting to do maybe a new build here, using Death Toll instead of the level 1 boots. Now, while he's going to have a little bit more damage, sure, and of course a little bit more healing, on top of some attack speed, he does lose 10% movement speed, and as a roamer, movement speed is completely invaluable. So I'm interested to see how it's going to work out versus the Thor, who can move around the map much, much more quickly, as he has finished now level 2 boots.
Well, I mean, that's going to come down to the individual. I mean, look at the individual gold numbers, 2,200 for the Thor, and Fenrir is seeing about 2,000. The Thor is actually farming 200 more individual gold than the Fenrir, and it's just going to come down to the movement speed. Thor now level 4, already reaching the left-hand lane, going to force back this Guan Yu. Guan Yu now hitting level 5 as well, and now the middle lane has just changed dynamically. We see Hebo hitting level 5, and as well as Poseidon. So it's going to come down to the, their ultimate usage and how well they can leverage it. Looks like Poseidon just cleared out the wave, going to head over into the jungle and head on back. So Hebo does not know that he is not ganking, giving a little bit of uncertainty there towards the left-hand lane. Let's go ahead and check in on Odin and Hades over here in the right-hand lane up against Amir and on her. Looks like there's actually a Mist and Pale comes out on top of the Hades. He's going to be forced back just a bit. A double Frost Breath comes out on top of these players. Now just some free poking. Doesn't look like there's any kill potential until level 5. Amir being the only level 5 in this, but now on her level 5 as well. If their leaps go on cooldown, if they have any chance to do this, they will be able to do a ton of burst damage to take out either Hades or the Odin.
So they are getting pretty aggressive here. You see a lot of zoning coming out from this. Ymir jumping in, getting a freeze there. Doesn't get the impale off in time as he hits level 5. You see him jump out immediately. Ymir could be in trouble. Is he going to lock him in here? So far he hasn't. Desert Fury comes out very, very low health as the Thor dunks down as well. Mjolnir's Attunement missing, but the Berserker Barrage is going to be enough. Odin finally jumping out there. He'll be walled, but I don't think there's going to be anything else to follow up there. The freeze would not have let on her set up any kills, so they opt to just back up there. Push another wave. As you see, an entire wave is coming. They could dive this. I mean, this is a pretty free situation for them.
So first blood is going to go in favor of eLEMON, kicking this off right in their favor. Again, they were the winners of game 1, so they're going to come off with a lot of pressure, but looks like Denial is going to kind of try and respond with their own jungle route with that Fenrir build as well. So now 1-0 at the 4.5 minute mark. Going to be up about 500 gold individually, which again is really not that big of a deal just yet unless it starts to take off and grow from there. Hebo and Poseidon kind of playing it passively in the middle lane, going at it back and forth. Neither tower has taken any damage at this point, so both Hebo and Poseidon leveraging their lanes perfectly and helping out the junglers when they need to, making sure that they get out of lane, clear the wave before they leave, and make sure that nothing really happens to the tower. Looks like Amir and Hades are going to meet up in the jungle and do their little counter ward battle. And of course, Amir can win as long as he can block off Hades with a wall and put a ward down right after.
So as we hit that 4-minute mark, the buffs start respawning. Incredibly invaluable in this game as two junglers are roaming around the map now, trying to get that extra experience and extra gold to either catch up or put themselves even farther in the lead. I mean, you see Thor right now leading his pack right now at almost 3,500 gold, going over towards that gold camp, picking them up very, very quickly, moving over towards the second gold camp, where the blue buff should also be respawning pretty quickly, unless, do we see On Her pick it up? Yes, On Her already did pick it up. Fenrir picking up blue buff on the left side, the gold camp, the second gold camp, and now over to speed buff. We'll probably see him go to cooldown, and his red is available as well.
Left-hand lane, Hercules and Guan Yu just, happy to just sit here and just farm. I mean, you see Trix Tank, actually they're exactly the same level after 1 million. Both Trix Tank and Cobra Kai ding up to level 8. They're just going to kind of hang out here. Big wave coming in from Hercules, about 6 archers there plus a melee minion. Going to push all the way to the tower. We have initiation here in the middle lane as Hebo gets taken from behind. Thor dunk plus the Hebo ultimate will finish off the Poseidon. Now Fenrir's going to grab the Hebo, throw him in tower range. It's going to be enough. Emir ultimate comes out, but they hit no one. He needs one hit to finish off the Hebo and is not going to be able to get in range to do so. That is a 1-for-0 exchange, and Hebo is going to casually walk away with very, very low HP. That was an incredible rotation from eLEMON. We saw Emir come from the backside, and right when they were reacting to Emir's rotation, Thor dunked down, and right as the Thor landed on the ground, Hebo ran over with a crushing wave, smashing Poseidon into the ground and taking another kill 2-0 at 6.5 minute mark, putting them up about 1,300 gold.
So moving forward here, Smacktrix in a little bit of trouble. He's very, very low health. Odin by himself here, but he is deciding to dunk in. He misses the Impale, which could have been a major turnaround kill for Smacktrix, but the missed Impale is going to cost him fatally as Game Hunter jumps in, smacks him with the Gungnir's Might, and backs off with little issue whatsoever. Only level 7 at this point, but he's taking a little bit of a lead now, 3,300. Anher's only sitting at 32 at now 0-1-1.
Hebo heading back in the middle lane, kind of just holding this down. Poseidon's actually level 9 versus level 8 Hebo, even after that kill they got there. That first kill is now be up on the scoreboard for Denial, picking off that Honor, a very valuable pickup for them. But again, eLEMON is still going to be up about 1,000 gold here at the 7.5 minute mark, 2-1. Guan Yu pushing up that left lane all the way back up to the tower as it looks like Hercules is going to go home and pick up the last bit of his boots and holds on to that Girdle of Might level 1. Amir obviously going for that very standard Hand of the Gods Blink combination, both tier 1 there, and picking up some wards. Looks like a very heavy commitment to wards over there on eLEMON. They have 3 wards up on 3 different people at this point, so have good coverage over the map. Fenrir's going to rotate over. Looks like he might run into Thor here in the jungle as they head towards the blue buff, and he's going to get seen by that ward and also Thor. Hades is going to jump in top of the Honor. Honor forced away as Hades pops ultimate. Ymir ultimate in response, but of course that's not going to hit anyone as Hades kind of just casually walks away from that. Fenrir getting taken by the Honor. Honor actually just barely misses a few hits from that, just barely going away, but Thor's going to go up into the air. Thor wants to finish off this. Fenrir can't even get in time. He's going to go ahead and just disappear. Doesn't want to give away a life for this. He's going to land back down where he started. Looks like 4 players for Denial are now gripping up over the right hand side, and Poseidon's going to head back in a minute, and that was just going to be a missed opportunity for both those teams.
So left lane, you see once again this 1v1 Hercules versus Guan. I mean, both characters have a pretty ridiculous amount of sustain. So not much has happened in this lane. Both sitting 0-0-0 at just slightly over 4,000 gold. It has been a completely even lane. No one's even really trying to gank over here. They're just kind of poking at each other repeatedly, using mana sparingly, and just kind of hanging out together. I mean, this is like a very friendly lane compared to the slugfest that's been going on. And right, as you see, once again, they're trying to dive onto Smacktrix. That on her using the Impale to push that back. Ymir rejoining the lane very, very quickly. He was back, and I mean, now he's trying to rush back there. Only level 1 Blink, though. I'm surprised he didn't go for level 2 or level 3 instead of opting to grab those level 2 reinforced boots. But either way, they're going to have a chance at a kill here. All abilities, it seems, are off on cooldown, off of cooldown. Except for Ymir's ultimate, which really isn't going to turn it in too much favor of their in terms of eLEMON. So I want to see them maybe push forward here. They have a chance with that Hades ultimate down. It's their chance to really make something happen. But once again, Smacktrix going for this blue buff.
In left lane, you gotta love Trix Tank's positioning with these wards here. Puts this up on all corners, making sure that any rotation that come over left lane, he will know about ahead of time. Cubo Fred obviously putting this one on the bottom side. Fenrir jumping in the left lane, might be able to pick him up. Does the ultimate come out? It does indeed. There goes the grab, throwing directly into minions. The rock attempts to come out, but gets stopped by the damage out for the Fremmer. That's going to tie things up at 2-2 as he pass over to the 10-minute mark. The Fire Giant will be spawning now. Only a 600 gold deficit for Denial EU at this point in the game is almost negligible. Hebo rotating over to the left lane, but looks like Fenrir and Guan Yu are long gone, and of course they have not found these wards just yet. Poseidon over here just in case they'd run into Hebo in the process. But again, it's a lot of back and forth, and it seems like Denial has been, they kind of caught up to the 8 ball this time around.
So Gold Fury is still a very relevant objective at this point. Only level 1 Hand of the Gods on eLEMON. However, we do have a level 2 hand for securing on Guan Yu, and he is constantly on the Gold Fury side, so that is a very important pickup. I think at this point, they should really try to push over. I mean, with the damage they have from Fenrir, Poseidon, and of course the Odin speed up, as well as the level 2 hand, they could burn that thing down very, very quickly and really take a lead here. But it looks like they're kind of just stuck over in their lanes. I mean, laning phase continuing way past the 10-minute mark here, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
I do not either. So we're going to see this kind of jumping out. Hades going to go over to the right. Like, look at Guan Yu's going to rotate and jump in on the Hercules. But again, it's a lot of hurry up and wait here. Just waiting for an opportunity for someone to get a gank off at some point in this match. A lot of hurry up and wait. Hebo in the middle lane versus the Poseidon going to push back and forth. Thor actually doing a good route through the jungle, making sure that, you know, he makes those buffs and rotates over. And he's actually doing a good job of ganking when he gets the opportunity as well. So it's really important for him to manage that time properly and get to the right lanes at the right time.
Fenrir trying to look for an opportunity here. Moving over towards this Fire Giant buff, it seems that Odin's grouping up as well. They might have a chance to steal this red buff. They don't in time. Proxy Cuckoo grabbing it just in time. Right as it comes up. He's sitting on it. Well, it looks like triple buff. An initiation here. Doesn't look like the communication was there. Dives in. Is in a huge amount of trouble. Locked into the ult there. We're going to see the Ymir ult probably in the middle of it, but the Kraken stops him from getting it started. Pushes them down very, very quickly. There goes Fat. Next up, you see Thor up into the air. A lot of knockdowns coming through here. Game Hunter's stunned there. Gonna try to get out. Very critical health, and Proxy QQ is killed right as Berserker Barrage comes out, which saves Game Hunter in the process. So a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of Denial Esports, only losing a level 9 Rysterion. I mean, it's nothing to scoff at. That's a very, very big lead now for Denial in terms of what they're able to do. Only ahead by about 300 gold, but they have a huge opportunity here with Proxy QQ still dead for another 15 seconds.
You certainly are. So Guan Yu kind of just holding on to this left lane. That was a big engagement for them. That's going to tie things up exactly. I mean, it's like a 60 goal deficit in between these two teams. As Denial kind of takes a little bit more with those actually little minion kills there. Look at the item situation. Looks like Boomba's mask is working out quite well for Fenrir and the Thor. Thor is about to finish off that Void Blade, which is a huge pickup for him. Hercules doing the same exact build. Hebo now has the Void Stone up on him, which means if Poseidon gets a little bit too close, he will be able to hold on to that. Looks like Poseidon's going to be mirror that build with that Void Stone being picked up, second item after the boots as well. Guan Yu's going to go for the Hide of the Nemean Lion to try and counter out the heavy physical build that is on the enemy team, that being eLEMON, of course, on her. Hercules and Thor all doing a lot of physical damage. Now hitting stasis mode is going to put these gods through the walls as we wait for the spectator mode to get caught up, and there it goes jump up. And looks like Denial took a little bit of a gold lead now after being behind, giving up first blood and second blood early on the stage. I mean, it's just going to come down to, can they hold on to this and make it even bigger with some good team fight engagements and also objective securing.
Speaking of engagements, we see the blink in there from Odin into the Gungnir's Might. The Hades ultimate is wasted, but a good silence is going to put him down to at least have to go back to the base here as he barely escapes with his life. Smacktrix will option here to go back to the base as fast as possible, build a little bit more, and then get back to maybe try to save this Ymir, who's kind of in trouble here. Only level 9. He's versing a level 12 Odin who has his boots finished. I mean, there's a decent amount of damage they can put down on that Ymir very, very quickly. On her leaving the base, actually getting levels of his abilities now, level 2 Aegis, level 2 Purification Beads, instead of going for any items. Left lane in a little bit of trouble. You see Proxy QQ actually going over towards the cooldown buff, not going for the gank, instead going for the jungle to try to strip some of the experience that Fenrir would have grabbed. It does look like Fenrir was trying to get over here very, very soon, so very smart to go to his jungle as it respawns and get that experience before he loses it.
So Guan Yu's going to kind of casually walk away from that lane. Looks like Fenrir's going to pick up that lane for him. Surprisingly enough, the Hercules is level 13, the Fenrir is at level 11. Contrast that to level 14 Thor, who is the opposite jungler in this situation, I suppose. So Fenrir, you know, starting to fall behind a little bit in experience. I mean, if you look at the overall experience, it does favor both teams pretty well, but it looks like Fenrir and Hades are falling behind quite effectively in that manner. So we're going to see the boots finally finished up on the Honor. I expect he has a good amount of gold stored up in order to buy his next item the next time he does head home. Looks like he was going to head back into the middle lane up against that Guan Yu's going to lead the lane wide open. Poseidon's rotating over the right hand lane. Looks like he might try to go for a kill. There's the Odin ultimate trap inside. Aegis Hammer now gets used. Can he jump away in time? There's the jump. Frostbreath comes out, hits nobody. A great wall by the Ymir will not stop the Poseidon, however. Trident hit. A second try. There's a whirlpool. One more Trident hit. No, he survives in the process, and Thor arrives here right after Poseidon is out of mana. Can't really defend himself too well. Thor going up in there. Can he get a dunk on Hebo? He's here. Everyone's grouping up all at the same exact time. Gonna dunk down, actually missing the Poseidon. He waddles away towards the side of the jungle. There's a Fenrir picking up the Thor, bringing him into tower range. The beats get procced in response. Hebo ultimately doing a bunch of damage there. Poseidon lives, goes towards tower range. Hebo getting so low. Hades jumps in. There's the Hades ultimate, trapping in the Hebo, picking off a kill there. Looks like Thor's just going to blink away. Amir's going to survive that whole engagement. And during all of this, Guan Yu is pushing the left tower and getting some chunks into that.
I mean, 0-for-1 exchange denial, another huge win there, especially with the fact that they've killed Suntouch. I mean, Suntouch is the highest or second highest level on the team to the solo lane Hercules, strangely enough. But he's dead for a long time. This is a lot of missed opportunity, a lot of missed experience, and all the while, like you said, Guan Yu was able to farm up, get a little bit more damage on that tower, get a little bit more experience, and by the time Hercules started to rotate over, he was missing a lot of experience, and he didn't join the team fight in time, so you still see him with his ultimate. Honestly, this might be a missed opportunity with Hercules in the side lane. I mean, he does have the kit to be able to compete 1v1, but then you're not really getting the benefit of that boulder. I mean, that team fight presence that boulder creates, the threat and the danger that you could really instill into people to make them scatter out, even before you use it, is completely wasted when you're not in team fights.
It certainly is, and that's something that, you know, they're starting to feel right about now. So that mid tower for eLEMON is going to drop to about half HP. Denial EU is going to take about a 500 gold advantage, 5-3 here at the 16.5 minute mark. Guan Yu is going to rotate over towards the middle lane. No, he's just going to make sure that ward is up, down by the blue buff, and head back in the lane. And it looks like Guan Yu is just, you know, content to sit in the left lane and farm, get to a comfortable point where he's just almost unkillable, and he can dive past towers and stick to gods that are really, you know, easily focused or kept out of the fight, like that Hebo or the Onher, where, you know, if he glues to them and forces them to be defensive, they won't be able to do what they want to do. Especially Hebo, who can't really reposition himself very quickly or very often when he's being zoned out like that.
So now about 17 minutes in, still no push for the Gold Fury. The 1v1 lane still going very, very strong. You see Proxy kind of rotating over here. I'm not sure if he notices that the Birds of Wisdom have already caught him. Game Hunter is going to push back a little bit. A great silence to stop the Berserker barrage damage. They have a chance to really turn this around here. If he uses Mjolnirs, he will be chased and will be locked into the ult. Ooh, a little bit too early there. Hades not recognizing the fact that they could leave, and a 2 wasted ults on the side of Denial here. This could be a great opportunity for a turnaround, but also could be baited as Poseidon rolls around. You see the Gungnir's Might hitting, but the Tectonic Rift stuns the Poseidon before he can release the Kraken, and he's going to have a chance once again to retreat back to his base, actually coming back into lane to keep this push to ensure that Proxy QQ here can stay safe. And look at this, Hebo also making the rotation. Knock up onto Game Hunter's going to jump into the jungle. The Tectonic Rift's going to stop him. The Impale might come out here. It doesn't look, it looks like Thor actually stopped the On from pumping in there. Oh, but here comes the Kraken. Won't even need to use it. Just the Tidal Surge was enough to pick him up. Restarian goes down as well. So, I mean, that was just a brilliant play throughout. Now losing 3 people in the process. It actually looks like Cobra Kai in the left lane was able to be picked up by Guan Yu as well in the 1v1. Now here comes Suntouch. Trying to get away here from this... from Cubo. Fred's jungling Fenrir actually picks up a kill in the process, is trying to retreat. Game Hunter getting a little greedy there, almost moved up close enough for him to get bursted down. A good stun. Brutalize should be coming off cooldown soon, won't even need it. Cubo Fred picking up another kill. So, I mean, an overall pretty even exchange, slightly in the favor of Denial, but going towards the 19-minute mark, it looks like there's about a 2k lead, but still no push for Gold Fury.
It's a very small advantage, but something that's very promising for Denial, especially the fact that they're in game 2. eLEMON's up 1. They have to win this. You know, taking this comfortably is going to put them in a good spot and bring their morale back up after that first match. So it's like, you know, Fenrir's going to go ahead and jump on out here from that tower dive. Hebo got a double kill, but was punished for it by that Fenrir. Excellent play there. The Gold Fury is up and available, and they have vision of it, but they don't really have enough personnel here to take it unless the Fenrir is going to be able to stick around. No, they're just going to go ahead and disengage here. Guan Yu's going to head over to left lane and meet up with that Hercules and go back to their one-on-one movie night over here, just watching the minions fight each other and standing around getting some free gold and experience until a big engagement happens for them, making sure these towers do not fall. Now if you look at the gold potential available for Denial EU, the mid tower is just under half, the left tower is just under half, so if they get a good engagement, they can either go for Gold Fury, or even if they don't have time to do so, if there's a team fight near one of these towers, they can get that out, get a bunch of experience in gold from those 2 towers, and possibly even go for Gold Fury after. So the next team fight is going to be very, very important for both of these teams.
Hades trying to steal a red buff from Smacktrix there. I'm sorry, the blue buff, unable to grab it. He hit him with a silence to stop the impale, and then went for the Devour Souls, but it just was not enough damage, and Anhar's able to pick it up pretty steadily. It looks like Trix Tank setting up for a kill here. Proxy Q sniffs it out towards the Gold Fury. The ward is now traded in favor of Cobra Kai, but looking down at the items, it does look like he has one more ward remaining, so he's going to try to bait back, and he does it successfully, putting the ward down and taking it. Unfortunately for him, Hercules still has 2 more wards to replace it with, but he's actually going over towards this other buff here, maybe going towards right lane, maybe going to use that boulder really for the first time this game, which I would love to see. Proxy taking the red buff, he's going to get ready for the dunk here.
See if we can pull it off or not. Looks like a lot of rotations. Amir's going to go ahead and cover left-hand lane. Fenrir's going to go ahead and pick up this damage buff. It looks like you're going to head back over towards the right lane, pick up that movement speed. It seems like he's still running a really tight jungle route as well as the Thor, but you look at the levels, Thor and Fenrir are both the same exact level. However, Thor is sitting at about 8,800 gold individually versus the 8,400 of the Fenrir. So about 400 gold more. That is going to be in favor of eLEMON for the jungler at least. Looks like the right-hand lane that's just going to go ahead and back off on her, going to go ahead and rotate over. And Hebo was here just in case. Fenrir's going to run into Hebo in the jungle, actually. There goes the Brutalize. Hebo kind of just electing to exchange there, realizing that, they both do a lot of damage, and if Hebo just tries to run, he might get caught out there, but Poseidon's going to rotate over on the backside, see if they can't slow down the Hebo from escaping. Fenrir's going to jump over the wall. Hebo might look for an opportunity, going to get hit by that Whirlpool, but not get caught in it. Of course, Poseidon waiting for that opportunity to finish off the Gem of Isolation, and once he has it, he has a good opportunity to catch characters like Hebo with their pants down.
A lot of rotations towards the mid lane now. This might be their opportunity to push down that lane as fast as possible. I mean, still going at 21 minutes now. We haven't seen a single tower drop despite them being under half for a while now. Left lane, you see the rotation from Fenrir trying to catch this Ymir, but I think he recognizes the danger. Ymir actually going once again towards the Gold Fury, but this is warded up and kept by Cobra Kai, who is level 17 as Hercules. Very, very dangerous. Proxy QQ also level 17, both ahead of the mid laner at level 16. Sprayarn leading the pack, though, at level 18, tied with Trix Tank, the solo lane Guan Yu, who at this point will be effectively unkillable.
He certainly will. So Hades and Fenrir grouping up over here. Fenrir going to pick up that blue buff. They actually do have a ward available. Let's see if they can counter ward it or not. It's going to be sitting here covering this rotation. They actually will find it, and Ristarian just casually does a backpedal, smacking it on his way towards the lane. Look at the total gold numbers again, about 1,600 gold in favor of Denial EU. Heading towards that point where objectives are going to be available about a 22.5 minute mark. Past 20 mark where they look for more objectives to start being taken, but they need to get a good pick to start it off. They can't just go ahead and grab objectives when all team members are available for both teams. So we'll see if they decide to go for a pick or not. Looking at Itemization, we see the Void Blade are finished up on the Thor and also the Hercules. Devour's Gloves now done for the Honor. Going to start stacking that up. Looks like initiation here in the left lane on the Emir. He was going to rotate over. Looks like Fenrir's going to jump and find the Emir here. The Frostblade going to come out, and maybe the Glacial Strike. The Glacial Strike does not land the slow as the sprint is active, and Thor was there to counter or to follow up as well. Looks like Poseidon was on the backup. A lot of missed opportunities. It seems like both teams are playing very, very careful. They don't want to give up a big advantage. They want to make sure that everything comes down to a very flawless team fight. And if it doesn't smell right, they're not going to try and push it.
Is that Shielded Recall? He built Shielded Recall.
Oh my god.
I've never seen anyone build that in tournament before. For those of you who don't know, Shielded it might be. I mean, this isn't a very popular item. Maybe he has a strategy. But Shielded Recall is an item that allows you to recall without being interrupted unless they CC you. It also recalls faster. Not really something you see on tanks too often. It might be a misclick, or it might be something that we don't personally understand. There might be a new strategy that we're unfamiliar with. But going into it, I have to assume that that was not something he wanted.
Well, it was one of those items when it first came out, you would go home regardless. There's no way to stop the person who was going home, and it was like a lot like the Apollo Ultimate, where you have this timer where you have to kill them within the window, otherwise they just get away guaranteed type thing. And that I mean, it became easily one of the most effective and very valued active items in the game. And they took it out because it was a little bit too strong. I mean, it was almost like a guaranteed go home type thing, like giving Apollo Ultimate to everybody in the game. So what they did is they made it so you can be CC'd while using it, which there's so many hard hard CCs in this game that once you activate it, you're likely to be CC during that animation. So it's the point where you don't really want to waste that slot. So that is why it doesn't really get picked up in its current situation. There's so many better active items to pick up besides Shield of Recall, to the point that that's why DM and myself are questioning the pickup here. It could be a misclick. I mean, even if you misclick an active item, you cannot sell it back. So it may be a little bit regrettable, especially the fact that Hades hasn't started building his first item yet.
No, he has not. I mean, that's pretty rough. I mean, you only see him with boots right now. 6,700 gold, lowest in the game. Level 15, again, tied for lowest in the game with Ymir. He's a little bit behind. And now that he doesn't have Blink, I mean, it's going to be a little bit of trouble for him. And usually you want to see a Blink or an Aegis, something to just allow Hades to do what he does best. And that item is definitely not it. So moving away from that, you see the Gold Fury once again warded by Cobra Kai. I mean, I wonder how much money he spent on wards just for that objective at this point. I really hope the 1,500 gold is going to circumvent some of the gold that he's lost trying to keep that objective in his favor. Levels, once again, Sprayer, first person to hit level 20, has been farming nonstop. 25 minutes of the game now. Level 18, Kubo Fred, 19 Tricks Tank. Second highest in the game is the solo lane Guan Yu. Definitely not something I would have thought I would find myself saying.
Well, he kind of just has been sitting over there the entire time, just kind of farming up and getting as much golden experience as he can. And if he gets to the point where he's tanky enough to just dive into the fights, it's gonna be really valuable for Denial. Now you look at the item situation. Poseidon has now finished off that Gem of Isolation, which is a really big pickup for Poseidon, which means that Whirlpool is gonna be so much harder to avoid because once you get in it, it's gonna pull you in and slow you simultaneously, which is a really annoying thing to deal with on a lot of characters, especially with the fact that it has a cripple, which means you can't jump out of it or dash out of it. So Hades going to run directly into Thor over here in the left-hand lane. Amir holding it down. Looks like Hercules and Hebo are going to group up together and try to keep this tower safe. Fender rotating over from the jungle initiated here. Frostman, there's a Hades ultimate keeping Amir. Thor's just going to jump out, but Fender picks him up and brings him right back to the fight. There goes the beads. Does the ultimate? There's the Hercules ultimate running directly through nothing and hitting the wall and bouncing off there. Looks like they disengaged already, but that was a good Hercules ultimate, which pretty much guaranteed that if they jumped in, it would save them. If they backed off, it would have done its job either way. Of course, being a support tank there with that Hercules, he does have that Void Blade, but they really just wanted to make sure that no one died in that engagement.
So a very passive game, starts to get a little bit aggressive underneath this tower. You see Kubo Fred getting frozen, taking a little bit of damage there, but the healing from Devour's Souls keeps him topped off. The Girdle of Might in this situation has been wasted. It doesn't look like they're going to dive. Hebo rotating over as well to try to push this. This could be an opportunity for them to get a kill. He's getting a little bit aggressive here. Guan Yu does not have his ultimate available, so there really isn't a way for them to lock him down. Maybe a silence from Restarian can get them in there, but it doesn't look like they're going to engage in the situation. Blue buff has respawned, so extra gold and extra experience here for Kubo Fred, who is level 19 now, trying to get to level 20 as fast as possible. Building very tanky. You see Warrior Tabby, Void Blade now going into Magi's Blessing. He wants to be similar to the previous games, maybe Proxy Q, where he's going in tanky, allowed to stay in the fight for a long time, and just being a nuisance. And I think that's what Fenrir does best, and that's just be annoying. And finally, after 27 minutes, the second tower going down. No, it is the first tower going down for Denial. So a free 1,000 gold for eLEMON there. Keeping them relevant in this game, only about a 2,500 gold difference at 28 minutes, and that really isn't much at this stage in the game.
It certainly isn't, especially the fact that you look at, Denial EU has 2 towers down versus the 1 tower of eLEMON. So if eLEMON had finished off one more tower, possibly that right lane tower, the gold numbers would be very equivalent. So that's, that gold that they haven't really collected yet, but is guaranteed to them once they do take out that tower. We have 4 players kind of in the left-hand side of the map with Hebo in the middle lane holding that down. Looks like 2 players are going to group up as well. Fenrir doing that very active roaming roll, kind of rolling over here to find a Smatrix. I think he's soloed down in the right lane by that. Let's go ahead and roll that back and check that out. We see Odin pushing back, and it goes for the dunk with a lunge, but gets countered by the Disperse. Does have his ultimate available, and it's mostly there's a blink ultimate. He has no leap out at this point. There goes the Odin shout to do a lot of damage to him. There goes the one more hit will do it, and the Gunner's Might will finish him off. I mean, Onher did have his ultimate available. He realized that he needed to survive those spears long enough to do something about it, but really could not do so. Now back over to the left-hand lane, we see some initiation as Thor runs over towards the Guan Yu. Guan Yu uses the slow plus the Tower Assault on the Thor, forcing him back towards his teammate in the tower, but here comes Hebo. Poseidon and Hebo gonna run into each other in the jungle. Odin is across the map. This is a 4v5 situation for Denial EU. See if they can pull this out of their hat. Hebo's gonna force Poseidon back towards the middle lane. There goes the jungle damage. There's the Whirlpool. There's the Hebo ultimate. Poseidon ultimate gonna respond in time. He uses the EGM just in the last second, defending himself against that. Now the teams are kind of working their way towards the jungle to defend their mid players. There goes Fender. There goes Fender. Ultimate is going to grab him in time. He's so close. He's going to be there in time. It will grab him, but he'll probably drop him right away. He needs to do the Brutalize. There is the 2 activated. There's the Brutalize. It's going to be enough. It will finish him off. The Frost Breath does barely miss there. Thor on top of the Fender. Each time he gets spot. There's Guan Yu Ultimate. There's the Hades. Hades has barely enough mana for his ultimate. Here comes slowing down the Ymir. Ymir going to pop his ultimate as well. There's the Rock. There's the Ymir ultimate. It's going to be enough. He uses the shielded recall, but just dies in the process. There's the slow. Fender doing a lot of damage to the Hercules. Hercules driving strike, finishing off the Thor. The Thor dies. There goes the Fender. There's the Ymir. Was it going to be enough? Odin jumping in, and there goes a double kill for Game Hunter on Odin. That is going to be a 4-for-2 exchange overall. Denial EU now 13-7 and 3.2k up.
I mean, losing the 3 characters there is really rough for eLEMON. Already being behind. I mean, I gotta hand it to Fenrir there. He jumped in there. Even with the beads activation, he did just enough damage to take down Hebo. A level 20 for a level 19, not always in this favor. But when you're taking out the highest, or it's like one of the highest damaging characters on the team, if not the highest damaging character on the team, it's absolutely worth it. So only 2 lines of defense here you see on her and Hercules. Maybe trying to group up here. I don't know if they're going to be able to stop them from taking whatever objective they want. Odin should walk over here and start this Gold Fury. You see them kind of rotating over, maybe going a little bit deep for these wards to ensure they're protected. And yes, it looks like they are going to go for the Gold Fury.
And it's going to be a little uncontested here. I mean, we see On Her and Hercules way too far away to defend. On Her being the only one close enough to rotate over. If you check the bottom right... Oh, I skipped forward a little bit. If you check the bottom right corner of the screen, you will see the minimap vision for eLEMON Gaming, which is just going to be them checking this out. They will not be able to see this. They have no vision of the Gold Theory, so it's going to be completely uncontested. They don't even know that it's happening. So a free Gold Theory is going to go directly towards the Denial EU. On Her casually farming up the middle lane. They're going to play this down. That's going to put them up even further ahead. Now 4.6k up is Denial EU, 13-7 as we pass over the 30-minute mark. Towards the 31-minute mark, Honor kind of wandering over, realizing the Gold Fury is dead, and there's not a whole lot he can do about it. And there goes the damage buff clear for the Poseidon. If we look at the item situation for these players, it looks like the Ratatouille is finished up for the Hebo, and the Hebo actually decided to go for the Breastplate of Valor, DM.
You know, that is a little bit surprising. I mean, he is getting burned down a little bit. I mean, Fenrir going kind of nuts. But, I mean, the cooldown reduction is going to make him very, very strong. I mean, a 2.25 second splash is pretty diesel. I mean, not to mention his ultimate being on a shorter cooldown could ensure that if they chase him out of a team fight for long enough, he could even get it twice off in one engagement. So it's definitely not a bad pickup. But I would have liked to see a little bit more damage. I mean, his team, while they're building, you know, kind of bruisery, doesn't have a ton of burst. I mean, On Her is going to pick people down one by one. I mean, you have Hercules kind of like, you know, hits a few times. He's going to hit you with the driving strike, the boulder, sure. And then, of course, Thor does a lot, but he's kind of the main burst damage. And if he's going to build tanky, they better make sure that he's absorbing enough damage to make sure that breastplate is worth the money.
And it may or may not be. It depends on how often they focus the Hebo or how often they, you know, if they realize what exactly is going on there. So it's like Fenrir's going to run over towards the Fire Giant buff. Thor's going to back off there. We have 5 players available for eLEMON to group up. Looks like On Her's going to go over to the right hand of the lane. Again, back to the item situation. The Bulwark of Hope being started by the Ymir, and not just finished yet. Hercules is going to finish off that Jotun's Wrath for more ability use. And there goes Guan Yu kind of getting it. There's a Hades ultimate to start everything off. The Guan Yu ultimate in response. Hercules' ultimate gets popped there as well. There goes the Ymir ultimate. Poseidon ultimate. And all the ultimates are being popped here. But Hercules will fall in the backside to the Fenrir, doing a lot of damage. Picking up that Thor is going to be that Fenrir, dropping right on top of 4 Denial players. Thor looks like he's going to end up falling here on top of all that. Odin's forcing them back and zoning them perfectly. A 4 stun coming out from Ymir and get back up to the tower, sending a direct message to Denial. But is it going to be enough to defend them? All 5 players are up for Denial with 2 players dead for eLEMON. That's going to put Denial in an even better spot than they were previously.
I mean, they lost a big chunk of their abilities there. I mean, without Proxy Q and Cobra Kai doing damage, there really isn't much that Sun Touch and Smacktrix can really do. I mean, you do see them building a little bit of defense with that, like we talked about, the Breastplate of Valor. This is their opportunity to take that Fire Giant as fast as possible. I mean, do have an Odin. They can keep them out for as long as possible. I mean, Hades can go out in silence to ensure that the Hand of the Gods doesn't go off the way they want it to. But both teams do have a level 3 hand, and it's going to wind up, I mean, almost guaranteed going down to that Hand of the Gods. If Ymir decides he wants to go in, he might have a shot at it with that blink, but it doesn't look like he's on the right side of the map. This is an absolutely free Fire Giant for Denial.
It certainly is. So we can try to rotate. Again, we can check out the minimap vision for the enemy team. In the bottom right corner of the screen, you will see the vision only for eLEMON, and they cannot see the Fire Giant. Again, a free objective will go for Denial as we head back over to the normal vision. We see them rotating over, try to like catch anyone who's wandering into the Fire Giant as they finish it off. Honor's going to split push the left-hand side, and most likely he will get this tower. Going to give him a little bit of some golden experience, but is going to be enough to counter off the 15-7, 34-minute mark. They're up in so much gold. They have the Fire Giant buff, now pressuring the middle tower. They're still waiting for Thor to spawn. Thor will now just spawn. There's going to be the 5th player for eLEMON, and they're trying to defend this the best that they possibly can. But again, we talked about this in the first game, DM, the fact that, Denial is so smart in their counter picks, in their counter strategies to pick off any other strategy that they play. I mean, regardless of what happens in the first game, Denial is always a threat.
They're going for the base race here. It looks like the side lane push. They're going to have to push this Phoenix down to stay in this game. And it looks like the Hades ult's going to be out. Thor's going to come down. The Boulder's going to hit 4 people, doing a lot of damage in the process. Trix tank dives in there trying to get out, but Odin locks him in there against a lot of damage coming out to the Hercules as well. So that's 1 down. Prox QQ falls down on the left side as well. And look at this, the whole time they're pushing in. They're going to have a good chance at the Minotaur here. But in the meantime, Smacktrix is pushing, trying to even this, I guess, deficit out a little bit. On the right side, Fenrir pushing way past the Phoenix, trying to get this Ymir down. It's a guaranteed kill at this point as the Gungnir's Might swings around and blasts Ymir in the back for the 3rd kill in this swing. Smacktrix still by himself on the end, finally getting joined there by the Poseidon, but taking the Phoenix in the process. They're going to lose the right tower, that's guaranteed, but Smacktrix could retreat here, and they might be able to defend another one. They still have 5 members up. I'm not really sure if they're going to go for the push here. They could really go for the win if they're fast enough.
They certainly come. You have 47 seconds up on the Hercules. Ymir just now crossing the minute mark. Thor is down in 40 seconds. I mean, it's only going to take him about 35 seconds from now to be able to finish off the Minotaur completely if they push in hard. Or they can just go for the safe strategy, which is going to be take as many towers and objectives and buffs as you can to make sure that they have nothing to grab and defend with when they do actually respawn. And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to go. They're going for more of a war of attrition. This is always going to be the safer bet. You don't want to try to commit to the Minotaur and lose a whole bunch of players. They lose a team fight or lose the Fire Giant buff. They're just going to go ahead, take out the right tower, take out the right Phoenix, take out the middle Phoenix, take out the left tower, take out the second left tower, and possibly even pressure this Phoenix, or even just back off and let the middle lane and the right lane push all the way in.
I mean, the fire minions spawning in 2 of the 3 lanes now, starting to zerg down and pressure them completely. The Gold Fury has respawned. They're already up by 10,000 gold, a little bit over even. They're going to turn this into 12K with this guaranteed Gold Fury. You see Poseidon up on the left side, ensuring that they have no way to process this fight whatsoever. Gold Fury already at critical health, about to go down now. And there it is. So taking a look at the gold now, 11,700 at 36 minutes. Denial has complete control of this map right now.
They certainly do, and we're going to see the same exact build from Fenrir that we saw previously. The fact that Fenrir is now going to be picking out, and he starts out with a damage build, and he's kind of ascends into a tanky build where he has enough damage early on to pick off the characters he needs, and then he just starts building tanky so he can just jump in the fight and constantly cause chaos. He picks up characters, moves them around, brings them to his team, always in the fight, getting stuns off, doing lots of damage, and absorbing a lot of the counter initiation that does happen. Fenrir is actually going to go back and sell his first 2 items, being the Death Toll and the Boomba's Mask, and immediately buy a full Bulwark of Hope. He now has a lot of magic protection. He has the Hide the Nemean Lion. He has the Magi's Blessing and the Void Stone, or the Void Blade, excuse me, and he's going to have so much protection that Fenrir to this point is really not focusable at all.
No, he's definitely not. I mean, 2 physical protection items, 2 magical protection items, penetration, extra damage, and on top of the fact that he's Fenrir. I mean, that's huge. Middle Phoenix finally respawning there. You see them trying to group up towards the side here. Rastarian taking this blue buff, or at least standing over near the blue buff. Not quite sure what he's doing. Guan Yu trying to push up the left lane as well. So they're starting to group up. You notice that it looks like the Fire Giant buff has removed itself. The timer has run out. It is a 4-minute buff, which means within, I'd say the next 45 seconds, maybe even 30 seconds or so, that Fire Giant buff is going to respawn. They're going to try to go for it. The left side Phoenix has respawned as well for Denial EU. So right now, things are kind of shaping up here for Denial. They have more defense. The fire minions have been destroyed, and they still have a lane of fire minions pushing towards that right side, forcing them to defend. Because I mean, they can't afford the Minotaur to take any damage. I mean, if it gets too low, they're going to be able to backdoor. They're going to be able to burst it down.
They certainly will, and they have the opportunity to do so as well. So in front of the Fire Giant buff, they're kind of waiting for this to respawn. They could force a fight or even just kind of hang out and waste their time. And with how far ahead they are with a 11.4k advantage as a gigantic, colossal lead in favor of Denial EU. They're up 18-7 as we head towards the 40-minute mark. They're going to go head into the Fire Giant and actually start it this time around. All players are available. Hebo a little bit far away, and Thor as well, but Thor could fly in with his ulti. So we'll see what they decide to do with this. They're kind of just waiting. I mean, Fenrir is the only one attacking the Fire Giant. Odin is ready to blink over the wall and use his ultimate as he just got put into combat with that little AoE fire lava. Looks like Onher's going to go for an impale opportunity. Missed that as well. A lot of hurry up and wait here. This engagement has to be perfect. Thor dunks in from the backside. Now it is the time for eLEMON to jump on in. So many ultimates coming through. A lot of AoE damage. There goes the Hebo ultimate. Emir ultimate doing a lot of damage as well. Hercules is dead already, and there goes Emir, and here comes Denial pushing the pain and putting it all the way in deep. There goes the grab, and right after that loss of a team fight, it looks like eLEMON is just going to go ahead and surrender. Denial proves themselves as the master tacticians that they are, coming back from a stomp in game 1, shutting down the strategy that eLEMON thought was untouchable, and winning game 2 to push us to game 3 in this EU tournament series.
Absolutely beautiful. And I kind of expected the surrender. You see Proxy diving in there, they're going something, but then you see Risterian right in the doorway, just trapped 4 people in that Hades ultimate, and they weren't going anywhere. Fenrir jumping in and stunning them, ensuring they stay there. 4 people died instantly, and before Suntouch could even escape from the fight, it was over.
Such beautiful and elegant play from Denial EU, and just loving it more and more every single week we see them compete. I mean, see Kivo Fred 8-1-11. Game Hunter didn't even die, and neither did Trix Tank. They gave up nothing that time around, and anytime they lost a player, it was usually just going to be Hades jumping on a grenade for his team. And then once you spend all that energy and resources taking out Hades, all you have is Poseidon, Fenrir, Odin, and Guan Yu to follow up and do a bunch of damage and CC control throughout this entire match. I mean, it didn't even come down to the fact that you had shielded recall on the Hades. It didn't even matter. They were so far ahead. I mean, they lost in the beginning. They lost first blood. They lost second blood, and they were kind of falling behind. But Denial just thought, what can we do to get back into this game? And they found it. They caught their rhythm. They forced it, and they kept pressing on the wound until it just hurt too much. And then we saw eLEMON end up falling in the end.
So going towards the damage here, Cubo Fred 15,600. That's pretty good considering he built full tank.
That's a lot of damage.
Yeah, and then Spray Iron right on top of him, only a 300 damage difference, not even. 16,278, very, very strong. And then, of course, Game Hunter leading the pack here at 18,300 with this Bruiser Odin, 809. Absolutely brilliant play throughout. ProxQQ leads his team with Thor at 13,000. Very, very smart, but they weren't able to work as a team. It seems they had a little bit of trouble in the 1v1 lane. The right lane was getting punished a lot, and ProxQQ really wasn't using that ult to its, I guess, maximum potential. You didn't see him really diving in for those kills and setting up kills for his team. He was kind of using it defensively or using it to chase. If he were to use it a little bit more offensively, that might have worked out a little bit better. But honestly, I got to tell you, I was impressed. I didn't think Jungle Thor would work, but he played it brilliantly.
He certainly did, and it worked out quite well. We could see him keeping up with the gold numbers. I mean, even on the losing team, he had about the same amount of gold that Trix Tank did on Guan Yu, 326 gold per minute versus the 317 on Thor. Even on the losing team where they lost, colossally in the end with the objective gold that they had. He kept up quite famously with that jungle route. I mean, just going back to that Fenrir, I mean, 16,000 damage done and 23,000 damage taken. Contrast that to the enemy team. The highest amount of damage done was Hebo at 16,000, but took 14,000. So he did the same amount of damage that Hebo did and also took about 8,000 damage more on top of all that, being very, very tanky. So that is the power of Fenrir, especially if you're building very tanky and get into the thick of things. Using those abilities to their best. I mean, we can check out the item situation, but I mean, this is probably pretty much just beating a dead horse here with how it all worked out. I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot of the itemization besides the Fenrir himself, but it just came down to them just being able to group up, leverage their team fight prowess, and getting a lot of good advantages, and then holding on to them.
All right, so we're going to take about a 2-minute break here, and then we'll be back for the final game of finals in this EU Weekly Tournament.